You know, there's something I hear from so many folks over 60, something that might sound familiar to you, too. It's that feeling like your body just isn't keeping up the way it used to. Maybe you've noticed you're a little more tired than usual, or your muscles don't seem as strong, or even those little aches and pains that stick around longer than they used to. And it's easy to chalk it all up to just getting older, right? But what if I told you there's one simple thing, one vitamin, that so many seniors forget about, and it could be the missing piece to feeling stronger, more energized, and even keeping your mind sharp? That's exactly what we're talking about today. Because here's the truth. Aging doesn't have to mean slowing down in ways you don't want to. And this one vitamin, it's a game changer. So let's dive in and uncover why it matters so much, and how you can make sure you're getting enough of it. Now, if I asked you to name the most important vitamins for seniors, you might think of vitamin C for immunity, or maybe calcium for bones. And those are definitely important. But there's one that often gets overlooked, even though it plays a huge role in everything from your muscles to your mood, even your heart health. Any guesses? It's vitamin D. You might have heard it called the sunshine vitamin, and there's a good reason for that. Our bodies actually make vitamin D when our skin is exposed to sunlight. But here's the problem. As we get older, our skin doesn't produce it as efficiently. Add to that the fact that many of us spend more time indoors, or we live in places where sunlight isn't as strong for parts of the year, and suddenly, it's no surprise that so many seniors are running low on this essential nutrient. But why does that matter? Well, let's talk about what vitamin D actually does for you. First off, it's a powerhouse for your bones. You probably know that calcium is crucial for bone strength. But here's the thing. Vitamin D is what helps your body absorb that calcium. Without enough of it, all the milk or leafy greens in the world won't do as much good. And for seniors, that's extra important because weaker bones mean a higher risk of falls and fractures. But it's not just about bones. Vitamin D also plays a big role in muscle strength. Ever notice how it's harder to get up from a chair or carry groceries like you used to? Low vitamin D levels can contribute to that muscle weakness, making everyday movements feel like more of a struggle. And here's something that might surprise you. It's also linked to mood. Have you ever felt a little more down during those long, gray winter months? There's science behind that. Vitamin D helps regulate serotonin, the feel-good chemical in your brain. So if you're not getting enough, it can actually affect your overall sense of well-being. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I know if I'm low on vitamin D? Well, some signs to watch for include feeling tired all the time, muscle aches, or even getting sick more often. But here's the catch. Many people don't notice symptoms at all until their levels are really low. That's why it's worth talking to your doctor about a simple blood test to check. So, how do you make sure you're getting enough? Well, the first place to start is with sunlight. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day of sun exposure, without sunscreen, can help, especially if you're fair-skinned. But of course, we have to balance that with skin safety, especially if you're at risk for sun damage. That's where food sources come in. Fatty fish like salmon and tuna are great, as are fortified foods like milk, orange juice, and some cereals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't eating enough of those every single day to meet our needs. And that's why many doctors recommend a vitamin D supplement, especially for seniors. But here's where we have to be careful. Not all supplements are created equal, and taking too much can actually be harmful. That's why it's so important to talk to your healthcare provider about the right dosage for you. Now, before we move on to the next big thing you need to know about vitamin D, I want you to think about this. Small changes can make a huge difference. Maybe it's adding a short walk outside in the morning sunshine, or swapping one meal a week for a vitamin D-rich option. It doesn't have to be complicated. And in just a moment, we're going to talk about another surprising way vitamin D impacts your health, one that might just convince you to take this even more seriously. So stay with me. Now, let's talk about something that might really surprise you: vitamin D's role in heart health. You see, research has shown that low levels of vitamin D are linked to higher risks of high blood pressure, heart disease, and even stroke. And while we can't say vitamin D is a magic cure-all, it makes sense when you think about it. This vitamin helps regulate inflammation and supports blood vessel function, two things that play a big part in keeping your heart strong. So if you've been told to watch your blood pressure or cholesterol, getting enough vitamin D is another simple way to support your heart. And let's face it, at our age, taking care of our ticker is always a good idea. But here's another area where vitamin D really shines: your immune system. Ever notice how colds seem to linger longer than they used to? Or maybe you've had a few more sniffles this year than you remember in the past. Well, vitamin D helps your immune cells fight off infections more effectively. Some studies even suggest that people with healthy vitamin D levels recover faster from illnesses. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. If it's that important, why don't we hear more about it? And that's a great question. The truth is, vitamin D doesn't always get the attention it deserves because its effects aren't always obvious right away. Unlike, say, a vitamin C deficiency, which can make you feel run down quickly, low vitamin D can quietly affect your health over time. That's why it's often called a silent deficiency. So, let's talk about how much you actually need. The general recommendation for most seniors is around 600 to 800 IU, international units, per day, but some people, especially those with very low levels or certain health conditions, may need more. Again, this is where your doctor comes in. A simple blood test can tell you if you're deficient and how much supplementation might help. Now, if you are low on vitamin D, don't worry. It's usually pretty easy to fix. Supplements come in two forms: D2, ergocalciferol, and D3, cholecalciferol. Most experts recommend D3 because it's more effective at raising and maintaining your levels. You'll find it in soft gels, chewables, even gummies, so there's an option for everyone. But here's a little tip. Take your vitamin D with a meal that contains some healthy fats, like avocado, nuts, or olive oil. Since it's a fat-soluble vitamin, your body absorbs it better that way. Now, before we move on to the last, and maybe most surprising, benefit of vitamin D, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that some days, your brain just feels a little foggier than others? Well, that brings me to our next point. Here's something I find truly fascinating: vitamin D's connection to brain health. Studies have found that people with low vitamin D levels may be at higher risk for memory issues and even cognitive decline as they age. Now, that doesn't mean vitamin D alone will prevent dementia, but it does play a role in protecting brain cells and reducing inflammation in the brain. Think of it like this. Your brain is a finely tuned machine, and vitamin D helps keep the gears running smoothly. So if you've been feeling a little more forgetful lately, it's worth checking your levels. And finally, let's talk about joint health. If you've ever groaned when standing up or felt stiffness in your knees, you're not alone. Many seniors with low vitamin D report more joint discomfort, and there's a reason for that. Vitamin D helps regulate calcium in your body, which affects not just bones, but also the cartilage in your joints. Keeping your levels up might just help you move a little easier. Now, I want to leave you with this thought. Small steps matter. You don't have to overhaul your life to make a difference. Maybe it's adding a vitamin D supplement to your morning routine, enjoying a few more minutes outside, or choosing salmon for dinner twice a week. Little changes add up. So here's my challenge for you. Talk to your doctor about checking your vitamin D levels at your next visit. It's a simple test, and if you are low, correcting it could make a real difference in how you feel every day. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed a change since paying more attention to vitamin D? Or maybe you have a favorite way to get more of it. Drop a comment below. I read every single one. If you found this helpful, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on living your best life after 60. Because here's the truth. Age is just a number, and with the right care, you can feel vibrant, strong, and full of energy at any stage.